Hello and welcome to the Simple Marketing Show. In this episode, you will discover why cold calling is not dead, why if you're not calling, you're leaving money on the table, and the most critical channel of your marketing efforts for your business. That's what we're going through today. My guest is Nancy Calabrese. Did I say
Yep,
your name right, Nancy?
yep.
Fantastic. Nancy is a good friend. She knows her craft when it comes to sales and calling and the rest of it. And today we're talking about the fact that you should pick up that phone. The phone needs to
Correct.
be picked up. It is not going to pick itself up. You need to pick up the phone. And this is going to be an interesting conversation because I am passionate about picking up the phone. And so just tune in and share the link with your friends and people that can benefit from picking up the phone and learning more about picking up the phone. And we'll go from there. Let me do the proper introduction for
Mhm.
Nancy. And we're going to dive into a very interesting conversation. Nancy
Awesome.
is passionate about a properly executed pre sales process, engaging with prospects, uncovering their needs, and turning them into qualified leads. Her unique approach, positive attitude, and relentless attention to detail are derived from her recruiting experience. In 1991, she founded Professionals Unlimited Inc., specializing in insurance industry recruiting. She saw the need for better quality, highly specialized, qualified lead generation and, in 2011, created one of a kind solutions, which was rebranded, uh, one of the kind sales in 2018.
Yep.
Nancy employs a unique approach to solving problems using consultative selling. Welcome, Nancy.
Wow, what an intro. I'm really excited to be here. I mean, obviously, it's a topic I love to talk about.
Absolutely. I love this topic too. I'm a huge fan of picking up the phone. As you know, we both run call centers. And
Yeah,
so we're both passionate about this. So let's dive into this.
sure.
Before we get started, gang, if you're watching or listening, make sure you subscribe to the channel, you like the channel, and make sure that you tag a friend who could benefit from the conversation of picking up the phone. This is extremely important for your
Yeah.
business. If you're a business owner, you got to know this stuff. So share the love with some friends and let's dive into it.
Mhm.
Nancy, what is your story?
My story. I got it into sales in my early 30s. I had always been told I should go into selling, but I was not confident. And my first, uh, I guess, experience in sales, I became a headhunter and then ultimately um, launched my own company, recruiting company. What I thought was going to be a horrible experience was not getting any job orders. I had to call, develop relationships, and it turned out I was very good at asking questions and listening to what I was being told. The challenge was always to find the good candidate to match. So fast forward, started my own company, height of a recession, by the way, and I had a non compete. So, for all of you out there that think things can't be done during tough times, they can. You just have to work harder. In the early 2000s, I want to say around 2008, one of the clients I did a lot of business with had 9 producers. I had placed several of them, and they never picked up the phone. So my client asked me to take on a project and to get some of my people to schedule appointments for their producers. We did it in 1 year, and I had 2.5 people working it. We set over 300 appointments for the team. And I realized when the project was over, this is not only needed in the industry, we're good at it and we have fun. So that's why I launched One of a Kind Sales. Um, our tagline is, we love cold calling, so our clients don't have to do it. And I'm very proud of the people that, and I'm sure you feel the same way, Mustafa, the people in your call center. They work really hard in, shining their craft, and they're very interested in improving each and every week. So that's kind of my story.
Love it. Love your story and how you evolved to doing what you're doing now. So
Yep.
what do you do these days, and who do you help?
Well, we are pretty much industry agnostic. We work primarily in the B2B space. And actually, I like different industries because it's interesting. You learn a lot about businesses. And when companies come to us, they're frustrated. They don't have enough qualified leads in their pipeline because they don't like having to pick up the phone. And for you and me, that's totally foreign, right? We don't get it. It costs nothing to have a conversation
That's
with
right.
a stranger. That's all. And so it gets a bad rap. And I'm sure you've heard this. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Well, it doesn't work because you haven't done it consistently. So we help our clients get in front of the right prospects and hopefully take it to close. And we like to try to help them close as well, because if they don't close, they're not going to want to renew come, the end of the term.
Absolutely. So what do you do for these guys? So you work with different industries. What is the extent and the details of the services that you guys provide?
Yeah, well, they get qualified appointments. So they get call recordings if the state permits it. They get reports each week, a dashboard of key performance indicators. But I think most important, they really get exposed to selling skills. We are trained in Sandler sales methodology each and every week, even people on my admin team. And for those of you that may not be familiar with Sandler, they're the number one global sales training organization, and they just teach you how to have a conversation that sounds different and very non-salesy. And so that's an added value to my clients, because I have found, and I don't know about you, Mustafa, that people aren't as good at selling as you would assume in some companies, right? Even though they have a sales role, they don't take it to close quickly enough. They don't ask
Yeah,
for the next step, which is a sales tip I just shared with the prospect. You always ask for a next step, and so on. So we work closely. We have fun with our clients. I don't know. Did I answer your question?
yes, you did. So you
Okay.
said people don't ask for the sale or don't move to the next step fast enough, for what I remember you said. Can you share some examples on what that would look like?
Yeah. So too many salespeople will say, I'll send you this information. Okay. Or they're requesting information from them and they say, okay. And that's it. And I am always very keen on, gee, I'm happy to send you some information, but let's schedule a time that we can revisit what we just discussed. And it's always like, hey, if it's a go or a no go, that's okay, but let's keep the conversation going. And this way, as a salesperson, I'm never left on the hook. Now, everyone slips on a banana peel. Believe me, I still do it after all these years, but I really make a point of sticking to that, because if they are not receptive to scheduling a next step, it's not going to be a deal that you're going to close, at least not right away.
For sure. So what's the proper way to handle that? Somebody says, send me information,
Okay.
or send me, I don't know, can you send me some testimonials,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So what's the best way to respond to that, to move it to the next step, and
Sure.
without wasting time?
Yeah. When they asked me to send them some information, I said, well, what in particular would you like to have? I kind of put it back on them and try to get them to talk about their issues again.
Yeah.
And again, I will only send information out if I have a committed next step. because send information, that could be a blow off. And we're trained to gently acknowledge that. If they don't want to speak and they don't want to take it to a next step, that's okay. Our goal is just to get to the truth, right? And even if they're blowing us off, you end every conversation with, gee, Mustafa, obviously I can't be of service to you right now, but I wonder, is there anyone in your center of influence that may have an interest in learning about our services? You
I
always
love
go
that.
for the referral.
I am a huge fan of that.
Yeah.
Huge fan. We always ask that question. And I
Yep.
always say, look, if you ask that question with 100 people, you could
Hmm.
get between 1 to 5 referrals guaranteed. It's
Costs
just,
nothing. Costs
it
nothing.
doesn't cost you anything. And it's just 10 seconds, right?
Yep.
Just
Yep.
who do you know that might need our service? Well, I'm not a good fit, but I know Joe may be running a business who could
That's
use you.
right.
I'll make an
Yep.
introduction. And unless you ask, you wouldn't know.
Well, here's the
Um,
other thing about asking. The person on the other end wishes his salesperson was as good as you were
as you,
in that
yes.
call, right?
Absolutely. So we talked about the fact that the cold calling is not dead.
Hmm.
What do you mean by that? And how does that work?
Well, look, for years, people have poo-pooed the idea of picking up the phone and talking to a stranger, and yet there are studies that I wish I had the numbers in front of me. I think 69% of C-suite that became a client took the appointment because of a cold call. So why do you think it's dead? It's not dead. It's human conversation. They hide, a lot of people hide behind social media because it's easier, or they feel like they're interrupting. And yeah, we are interrupting, but that doesn't mean it can't go it towards a positive conversation.
Hmm.
So for those that really believe that cold calling doesn't work, I'm telling you, you said this earlier, you're leaving money on the table, because if you're
100%.
not calling them, somebody else is calling them. And you always want to do what people aren't doing, right? To stand out.
100%.
There's, I don't know, do you know Sherry Leviton?
I
She's
may.
a sales consultant. I'm
Okay.
in a group with her. And we, at Sandler, and she used this today. She had a video on LinkedIn, pattern interrupt. You want to say things in a way that the prospect doesn't expect it, because you'll catch their attention. And a pattern interrupt is picking up the phone.
Love it.
Yep.
Love it. A pattern interrupt. So, I'm a huge fan of calling, and people are,
Mhm.
are saying, like, we don't want to interrupt them. And one of my ideas is that, well, they're getting interrupted by social media all day long. Why not by an actual human being whose intention is to help and provide value? There's a lot of useless stuff on social media, and people have spent hours upon hours scrolling through nonsense.
Right.
Why not talk business and get serious about life and business?
Yeah. Well, look, I don't poo-poo those channels either. You want to have a mix, but you want
Yeah,
to try
right.
to do it all, right? I had an appointment today with this company, and I said, "Well, how did you find me?" And it's through email communication that I have working on the back end. And I'm thinking, "Yay, it's working." Appointments are being set. Yay, they're going on my calendar. I'm getting leads through LinkedIn, and then they're being scheduled for my calendar. So you want to use all resources
100%.
available. Yeah.
No, I'm not against social media. I'm on social media all day long myself. I'm just
Yep.
saying I have no problem interrupting people if my
Hmm.
intention is to help and provide value. And
Yep.
what's your approach? Would you be open to share a little bit of how you guys open a call when you're cold
Sure.
calling?
Yeah.
What does that
Love
look
it.
like?
So, Mustafa, this is Nancy Calabrese. Little pause. I'm guessing my name doesn't ring a bell. And then you're going to say, no. I
No.
said, that's okay. I didn't think it would. Another opener is, Mustafa, this is Nancy Calabrese. And then I pause and then say, we don't know each other. That's a pattern interrupt, right?
Right.
I'm not sure you're the person I need to speak to, but if you give me 30 seconds, I'll let you know why I'm calling. You tell me if it makes sense to continue. Does that sound okay? We're
Yeah.
asking permission, right? 99.9% of the time we get, yeah, sure. And then I go into my 30-second commercial. My company, One of a Kind Sales, provides lead generation and appointment setting services for companies like you. And, typically when I speak with key executives, I often hear boom, boom, and boom, usually about 3 pain points. And then I pause and then I say, look, I don't want to pretend to know your business, but is any of this relevant and worth a conversation? And then zip. You got to hear what they say. And then in a cold call, and yes, I do believe in scripts. You own a script, you internalize it. But then the next part in this cold call is you become an actor. You have to empathize with them. You have to get them to want to talk about their pains and their struggles, because sales is emotional, right? People buy based on emotion. So by getting that emotional element out, you then segue into, you know what? I hear you. It sounds like miserable. How long has this been going on? What has it done to you personally? Why don't we do this? Why don't we get our calendars out and schedule a time for you to meet with so and so? And then we book the appointment.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. That was a really good opener.
Well, thank
Um,
you. You you can
yeah. So you
steal
said,
it if you want.
Nancy Mustafa Hosseini here. You don't know me, but if you could give me 30 seconds, I'll tell you why I'm calling, and then you can decide if it's relevant to talk further or not.
Yep.
And then, yeah, I like that. I like that.
It's very non-salesy. Because
Absolutely.
many salespeople are trained. Hi, my name is Nancy Calabrese, and we've got a solution that you need to have. This is why it's so great, and I'm going to be available Tuesday or Thursday.
Yeah,
Features and benefits.
absolutely. There was this one other opener I saw from this guy. He calls himself UK's most hated sales trainer or so.
Okay,
And
what's his name? Do you know?
I forgot his name, but
Yeah,
he calls himself UK's most hated sales guy.
yeah,
And then the way he opens, he goes, Nancy, I'm going to be honest with you. This is a sales call. Would you be open to giving me 30 seconds
yep,
to let you know why I'm calling, so you
yeah,
can decide if it's relevant, or would you like to
yeah,
hang up right now? And
yep.
most people are like, ha 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 ha, yeah, I'll give you 30 seconds.
Do you know a couple of my callers use that? Hi, Mustafa, this is so and so, and this is a cold call. Can I get the 30 seconds, or do you want to hang up on me right away? And they get through and they
Oh yeah.
like it. They laugh.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, when you're honest and upfront, and you're not, because some people they try to like have like a verbal diarrhea, like dude, that's not going to help you push through, and they get hung up on, and it's just not a good experience.
Yeah.
So, Nancy, why do people have this massive fear of calling to begin with? Cold calling is on a whole new level when they have fears.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Because they've been taught it's a bad thing to do. It doesn't work. They haven't been trained properly. Cold calling is just phone networking. People are into face-to-face networking. You walk in a room and then what do? You stand there and you don't introduce yourself to a stranger? Same thing. Only it's over the phone, and it's more efficient. It's more targeted, because when you go to a networking group, it's likely to be a hit or miss. You don't know who's going to be in these meetings. And like, for instance, I want to deal with business owners. And at networking events, there could be a mix of sales reps there, marketing reps. Those are the decision makers. So I don't know. I don't get it, Mustafa. I just don't.
And why people have fears?
About, yeah, what they're afraid of. Nobody's going to bite you, right? The worst thing that can happen is they hang up. Okay, you move on. Second worst thing, it's no, but no is a not now. That's part of the sales game.
Yeah.
And then you're going to get a yes.
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah.
Could be your first call or the 50th call or later, but eventually you will get a yes.
Absolutely.
And it's like, honestly, like cold calling is in business is probably the best muscle building business practice, period.
So we have big muscles.
Yeah, you do. You do. I think the only thing that I haven't done and I'm really keen to do and practice for muscle building, it is door knocking. I haven't done that. That's
I
like,
haven't, and I would hate that. See,
I
I
want
would
to
hate
try
that.
it. You would hate it?
I would hate it. I don't want to walk into a store or wherever to get blown away. Never. Have always loved the convenience of being in my office and not having to move.
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
Well,
No, I
move
get that. I
throughout the
get that.
day.
I just want some muscle building with door knocking. I think it would build the mental toughness like nothing else.
Yeah, but you waste so much time traveling to and from.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
No.
Absolutely.
Well, you do that, and I'll stick with what I'm doing.
I'll let you know how it goes when I try. So, Nancy, what are some of the mistakes that people make when it comes to cold calling?
They leave too much candy in the lobby. What does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
They tell them 100% why they're calling, the reasons. I love when I get voice messages like that. They give me their whole blurb. There's no curiosity that makes me want to call them back. So I delete them. A mistake people make is not having a script. You have to have a script to sound consistent. You don't have to think through what you're going to say. You don't want to sound like you're winging it, because the real work starts when you get the objections, right? So if you have a core script that you know and you internalize, you're in a better place to field the objections. That's a mistake. Also, cold calls should average anywhere between 4 to 9 minutes. Anything beyond that is a sales call, and you never go into sales mode during a cold call. Your goal is just to schedule the appointment. Once it's scheduled, then you can do your research and prep for that first time appointment. What am I missing? I don't know. Mistakes.
I think you're doing pretty good.
Tonality, matching and mirroring the speed in which the other person is speaking. If they have a lower voice, I'm going to speak lower, right? If they speak really quickly, I'm going to speak really quickly. Again, it's fascinating. There's so many components that go into having an effective conversation that it never gets boring. And one call is never the same as the next call. So
yeah, it doesn't get boring. I mean, it's always changing and evolving. I mean, we don't do cold calls. We only do follow-ups, as you know.
Okay,
and it's always an interesting conversation, because every person is different personality, right, different product, different business, different everything is different. And
I'm going to challenge you. Follow-up calls are cold to the person making the call.
Cold, right? To the person making the call?
Yeah.
Right? The first time, yes, unless there is a relationship.
Okay.
Like we usually call the entire list every 3 or 4 months, and after a while, our agents start developing some sort of relationship there. Okay. And if it goes on for a long time, then the relationships start, getting deeper and more meaningful. But the very first time that they're calling is definitely a cold call.
Yeah.
But it's a little warmer than just the cold calls that you guys do, because with what we do, they have opted in to receive information, existing customers, past customers, and all that. So they
Yes.
kind of have an idea. Some people don't. They're like, I have no clue who you are, and I
Yeah.
don't remember signing up for your book or whatever. But you're right. Sometimes it is definitely a cold call, and we
Yeah.
get hung up on, and when they say, "Don't call me anymore," and they get mad, and some creative characteristics show up.
I'm sure you've heard it all. I've heard
Absolutely.
it all.
Let's talk about. Oh, before I move on, have you read Chris Voss's "Never Split the Difference"?
No, but I've heard about it.
So I'm a huge fan, and we use it on our scripts
Okay.
every single day. And going back to the tonality that you mentioned, I think it would then the mirroring and matching. He's got this thing called mirroring and labeling, which
Okay.
I think he's got his own definition. I'm a huge fan.
Oh,
Huge fan.
cool.
I think you might want to check that out.
Yeah.
Let's talk about compliance.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there are a lot of rules and regulations around calling. There's the do not call list. There's FTC chasing people. There are people that are litigators and go back and sue people into court and whatnot.
Yeah.
What's your take on that, and how do we go about this whole thing and stay compliant without getting?
Yeah. Well, that's why we play in the B2B space. If we do B2C, the client has to give us the leads. They have to be scrubbed on their end.
Okay.
Each state there are one-party call recording states and two-party call recording states. So we have to be very aware where we're calling to make sure the conversation can be recorded or it can't be recorded. Outside of that, every now and then some guy says, well, I'm gonna call the cops because you're cold calling me, or that's ridiculous. We're just doing a job, and you just have to let it fly over you. But
Yeah,
I think
grow up.
one party, two party call
That's right.
recording states that could be challenging.
God, do you remember the top states that are challenging?
Well, California, you cannot record. I know California off the top of my head. Many states allow you to do that. Yeah.
For sure. Anything else we need to be aware of in terms of compliance and make sure that we're not getting ourselves in trouble?
Well, not from a legal point of view. First of all, you can't lie. All right?
Yep.
You can't lie. If you don't have an answer for a question asked, just say, I don't know, I'll get back to you. You always want to take the high road. All right? I had a situation actually recently where one of my people, they were berated on the phone. Okay, I listened to the conversation, but his mistake was that he went right after him. You cannot do that. Can't do that. He's no longer with my company. I mean, you can't.
So somebody was mean to your agent, and your agent went after them?
Yeah, like yelled. And here's the big mistake he made.
Yeah.
He didn't bring it to my attention.
Oh.
He brought it to some of the people internally. Had he come to me immediately, it might have been a different story. But when things like that happen in my company, I always have a company meeting and we go around the horn. And I want to make sure people understand why it happened. And it's always worked, to keep them in the loop, knowing that, I'm a demanding boss, but I'm very fair. I'm very fair, and they know that. Yeah.
Good. I love those. Like, the part of the training to the team members should be how to handle mean people and rude people.
Yeah.
And you cannot. Yeah, you're right. You cannot just go after them.
No.
And respond back with the same level of stupidity. And Just go
Yeah.
become
So
as
what
dumb
I
as they
wound
are.
up doing is I called this gentleman back, and I took the high road with him. He really appreciated that I called him back.
What did you say
Uh,
on that call?
I just said, listen, I'm aware of a conversation you had with an employee of mine, who is no longer with us, by the way, and I want to take responsibility for that and just apologize to him. He liked it. He liked it. I think he was the one that said I might take you to the cops, or I don't know. But I took the high road. He did want to be removed from the lead list, which was fine, and we made peace.
Interesting. Very interesting. I love that. Call back, apologize, I'm sorry, and
Yeah.
handle it nicely.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
you can't let things go without addressing them.
For
At least
sure.
that's what I've learned.
Yeah, I think it always works better, or it has worked better for me
Hmm.
when I kind of acted like the more mature person, or
Yeah.
I would call it the big brother, or parenting type of approach, because
Yeah.
sometimes if you say nothing, it's okay. You could always go back and say all sorts of dumb stuff and get
Right.
yourself in trouble. But if you say nothing or say sorry, I'm just going to go out, think about
Hmm.
it, and come back, it always worked better. And every time I acted stupid and I responded in an unprofessional way, almost always hurt me.
Yeah, and you want to take responsibility. That's all. Everybody's human, you know?
Absolutely.
My father used to say pencils have erasers for a reason.
Absolutely. Sometimes when you say something stupid, you cannot erase it easily.
No.
You know?
Well, you have to earn the right and earn their trust again.
Absolutely. So we talked about the fact that if you're not calling, you're leaving money on the table. What do you mean
Mhm.
by that?
Somebody else is calling and getting their business. Somebody is catching their attention. As you said earlier, I mean, we're bombarded in our emails and LinkedIn invites. There's a lot of noise going on out there.
For sure.
And yet, the human voice can be very reassuring. Um, and it's just human to human. AI isn't going to take over the world. Social media is not going to take over the world. It's human interaction. We all go back to that, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And you know what's missing a lot these days is the actual human interaction. Like there's a lot people spend a lot of time on social media and digital
Mhm.
stuff and their phone and apps and the rest of it. But you be I don't know if you guys get this when we call our people and when we follow up, a
Mhm.
lot of times they thank us for thinking of them because
Absolutely.
they're just
Absolutely. They
buried.
appreciate the follow-up. Yep.
Oh yeah, they're
Yeah.
like they're just buried in their digital world inside their house, living their lonely lives. And when a human picks up and says, "Hi, it's a human. You got a
Yo,
minute?"
wait a
You're
minute,
like,
they're still out there?
"Yeah." You're like, "Yes, I have a minute."
They're out there. Oh, wow.
Um, can you tell us? So I absolutely agree with you with the fact that you'd be leaving money on the table if you're not making calls. Are there any myths around cold calling that any is there or any way people that think about it in the wrong way and they just
You said methods?
myth
Oh, myths. Yeah,
that
that it doesn't work, that it's
that does
dead.
that it's dead?
You're never going to make a sale off of cold calling. It, yeah.
What are some stats around cold calling? Like how many calls do you need to make typically to book one appointment?
Great question. I get asked that all the time. It depends on the vertical. It depends, number one, on the quality of the lead list. Number two, how large the organization is. Do we have to go through layers to get to a decision maker? And then it depends on how saturated that industry is. For instance, insurance, property casualty, even employee benefits. Before, they've got two challenges. You get a lead list, and I call and I find out, Mustafa, you just renewed last week. Well, you're not going to be interested in having a call again about insurance. So that's
Yeah.
one factor. The other thing is it's just such a highly saturated industry. So for every call that we make, they're getting like 20, 40, a day. So that is a factor. Other campaigns, we knock it out of the park right away, because there is a great need for what they do. So it really it goes back to what your offering is, and what the demand is for what you're offering. And then you have to also factor in, okay, when I'm pre-qualifying a prospect, how long is your sales cycle? Now that's important for me, because if they have long sales cycles, they're not going to see a return on their investment right away, right? The long sales cycle, I always want to know what their close ratio is, to kind of
Their
get a
closing
sense.
ratio.
Yeah, get a sense.
Yeah.
Am I
If you're
dealing
booking
with somebody?
appointments, you want to know what's their close ratio.
Yeah,
Like if you're closing, booking appointments all day long and they can't close it, then
right.
it's not your fault that they cannot close.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
But then our livelihood is dependent on their ability to close.
100%.
Yep.
100%. 100%. How do you fix that problem?
Well,
What if is that something that you vet for upfront?
Yeah.
Or if you run into that issue, you kind of address it or fix it in a way or two?
Well, I've learned, because I never used to ask this, but I started really asking about their sales cycle, their close ratio. If there are salespeople, tell me a little bit about their abilities. Who's your superstar? Because I want to get the appointments for the superstars, right? I'll be honest, my biggest fear, Mustafa, is we're going to set these appointments for you, but if your team doesn't have the skills to take it to close, you're going to be dissatisfied. And sometimes, and I've done this, is I've recommended that they, rather than invest in me right away, go training.
I'm
What
sorry.
happened there?
I'm sorry. You said, I apologize. It was an issue on my end. You said
Okay.
rather than investing in you, they should go do
Right
some sales
away.
training.
Yeah, they should. Invest in Sandler sales training. And I actually won a client that way. He came to me. He was about to sign, but he kept saying, my sales. I need a system. And I turned him on to my sales trainer, and he opted to go with him. And then about 4 months later, he was a client of ours, a good client.
Love it.
Yep.
Love it. I would say 99% of people would not do that. And they would actually hurt themselves in that process.
Yeah.
Because that guy's going to come in, he won't know how to close.
Yep.
And then he will be a unsatisfied customer. He's going to run around, tell the whole world that spend money with me and it didn't work. And
right.
I've made that mistake.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I have made that mistake.
I think we all have.
So, going back to the original question, are there like averages, like out of 100 cold calls, how many appointments could we make?
Well,
what's the range?
Yeah, well, I can give you ranges on conversion ratios.
Okay.
The average cold call conversion to appointments is 2 to 4%.
2 to 4%. So out of 100 calls, you make 2 to 4 appointments.
Well, again, I don't want to be quoted. It depends on it. It depends on so many factors, but my group overall, with all of our campaigns, we average anywhere from 9 to 11%. And I
Really?
attribute that to the ongoing training. You know what, clients, you have to set realistic expectations right up front. Not a silver bullet. It might take years before we get this person to say yes, but you've got a repeatable process that gives them, like you said, with the follow ups, you develop the relationships and you nurture them.
Love it.
Yep.
So you're okay. On a good day, you guys average between 9 to 11%, but typically people should get 2 to 4%
Yep.
on it.
That's what most yeah, that's, do your homework. You'll see it online. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I think I believe 9 to 11% would be for the pros, people that really know what they're doing.
Well, we do.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think average Joe could
No,
average 9 to 11%.
no. But this is because of our core belief in ongoing training and also hiring the right people for the role. That's a real big factor. I mean, think about it. Their job is a no job, no job. And it's repetitive, repetitive, repetitive. Um, yeah. And you want to develop a culture of fun. I infuse fun each and every day with my team. So when they set an appointment, we have Microsoft Teams and we throw crazy GIFs up to celebrate. My team appreciates one another. I mean, we really have, it's the best team I've ever had. And that's over decades of, like becoming a better leader, frankly. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Love it. So, what is the most critical channel for your marketing efforts?
For me personally,
Yeah, so we promised to go over the most critical channel for marketing efforts. Is it
for
cold
one of a
calling?
kind
Is it
sales, I still rely on my appointment setting, but I have added other channels, which is driving business. Being a part of some membership groups has increased my visibility. So I get referrals that way. I, um, I have some strategic partnerships, as you know, that cultivate relationships. I'm just trying to think. The core, the callers, setting the appointments. I have LinkedIn marketing. I have a service that I don't know how he does this, but he's running 3 or 4 campaigns for me through LinkedIn that brings me about 30 leads a month. And but there's a difference. You don't know how qualified they are, and they don't
Mhm.
all convert to appointments. And then email marketing. We're going to be taking it in-house, but we have several different campaigns taking place that has brought interest to us. So I don't know if that answered your question.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it seems like you've got a multi-channel marketing efforts that are bringing leads through partners,
Yep.
strategic partnerships, LinkedIn, and do you guys do cold calling for yourselves?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Yeah.
Okay, okay,
Oh, yeah.
got it. Absolutely, absolutely. Nancy, tell us about your book, please.
Ah, here you go. It's called Inside Sales Solution. So it's basically for those companies that want to build an inside sales department. It's a how-to, do it yourself. It's written in my voice. It's a real easy read, and I'm very excited because I know you're going to post this, that you can get a free download on my website. And this year we're making an online course of it. So that'll be available probably in the Q3 or Q4. So yeah, please enjoy it, and I'd love to get your feedback on it.
For sure. So the gang, the book is called The Inside Sales Solution. The link is in the descriptions of the show and or on the comments on social media. Click on it, download the book. Nancy has been at this for a while. She
Yeah.
definitely knows what she's doing, and yeah, it would be beneficial for you and for your team. And read it out and reach out to her. They do great work with lead generation. Imagine having somebody that's like calling for you and generating leads for you every day,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And we do it with smiles on our face.
That's right. Nancy, can you have like an agent working for a customer like part-time? Like only
An
4
agent,
hours a day
yes.
instead of 8 hours a day?
Oh, you mean would I hire an agent to
No,
work part-time
can
for
I
me?
hire your team on a part-time basis so they could do 4 hours of calling every day instead of 8 hours? Or how do you guys
You
go
know
about
what?
it?
I used to do that. I used to, but my people are full-time.
So
Um,
the customers only work with your team full time. You would have a
no,
one.
no, 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 no. We have different packages.
Okay.
So our starter package is 10 hours of outbound prospecting. So they're assigned one caller. Our gold package is 40 hours. So let's say you wanted to engage us for 40 hours, you would get two callers.
Two callers.
Yeah, at
Isn't
least
like
two. It's
one
pretty much
caller
two.
able to do 40 hours of calling?
I don't like to keep them on the same campaign.
Okay.
I like to
Got
mix
it.
it up. Yeah.
But that's 10 hours a week or a day, or how does that work?
It's a week. That's our
Uh-huh.
starter campaign. And the 40 hours is our gold program.
Yeah.
The starter campaign translates to about 200 dials, and the gold translate into 800 dials.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And then what's the next package after gold?
Well, you can build it in increments. The most common package is 20 hours a week, and that would engage us, two team members, and I would probably that translates to 400 dials a week. But you could do 15 hours a week. You could do 25 hours a week. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Got it. Nancy, give us a 30-second. Give us one simple marketing strategy, like within 30 seconds, something that people could do and start seeing results pretty much right away.
Here's my recommendation. Start small. Make a commitment to yourself. Make 5 dials a day. That's achievable. Because if you 5 dials, that means you made 25 dials. And if you calculate it throughout the year, I don't know what that number turns to, but start small. Don't overwhelm yourself. And, study, either follow me on LinkedIn, read my blog posts, reach out to me. Happy to have a consultation with you. It's getting to know is not a bad thing because you're moving closer to your yes. So just do it. Make that promise to yourself.
I love it. It would probably count, sum up to about 1,000 calls throughout the year. And based on like average statistics, that would be probably around 20 to 40 appointments throughout the year. And if you have a 30% close rate, that would be about 6 to 12 customers, just 5 calls a day.
Yep.
And I'm guessing if you're getting started, it's the first 5 or 10 calls that are the scariest. And then you'll get used to it and you'll see that it's not the end of the world. Then you're not going to die.
Right.
And somebody's not going to get out of the phone and boo you. And
yeah. Here's another thing, block timeout.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're ready to move on, then do 10 before 10 o'clock in the morning. And by the way,
why before 10 o'clock? Why in the morning?
It's just to psych yourself up. You could call any call blocks. Here's another thing. They have all this data. You should call this time, that time. And you know what? It does depend on the industry, but there's really no bad time to pick up a phone. And Friday afternoons, we set a lot of appointments because all other salespeople are jumping ship for the weekend and people are in a good mood.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Let me ask you some personal questions. Would that be all right?
Yeah.
What's a new thing you have tried recently, big or small? It could be as small as a cup of coffee, as big as going to the moon.
Oh, well, no, this is business related. I don't know.
Anything,
I'm pretty
really.
boring. You know, I'm pretty consistent. I eat the same foods. I'm bored.
You must have tried something new, like a book, reading something, learning something, food, um, jumping off a cliff. I don't know, anything.
Uh,
In the past few months.
I don't know. Come back to me with that question.
Okay. Give me 2 of your top favorite books.
Well, I love, actually, I'm reading now Corporate Sponsorship in 3 Easy Steps, and also Strategy Sprints by Simon Severino, and then Mark Hunter, A Mind for Sales.
Mind for Sales. Love it. Love it. What's one advice that made a big impact in life or business?
I know that one for sure. So I'm in my 20s. I started out in corporate America, and my uncle is my mentor. And I remember I was like getting close to 30-ish, and I was in a Fortune 50 company, and I just didn't like the rules. I didn't like the rules. I mean, it didn't make sense to me. I had to follow all these rules. So I was moaning to my uncle, and he said, "You know, Nancy, did you ever think you don't like to be told what to do?" And a light bulb went off. He was right. And that's why I started my own business. That's why I went into sales, to start my own business.
Love it. Nancy, if you had a Facebook or a Google ad around the world that people around the world with access to internet could
Yeah.
see this ad and they could see your message,
Right.
what would your message be for the people of Earth?
It would be a picture of me and Paul McCartney hugging or kissing and letting the world know that he's leaving Nancy for another Nancy. Yep. It's the truth.
Honestly,
That's it. That's my goal in life.
I love it. This is the most creative answer I've asked that question probably about 130 people now on our show.
Yeah.
This was the nicest one, like the most
easy.
creative
Wait a
one.
minute. You want to hear it? See how nuts I am? Look. There he is.
Oh, wow. Good, good. Nancy, this has been absolutely amazing. Thank you for sharing all the knowledge and wisdom and everything else that you shared. Is there anything that you want to talk about that we didn't get a chance to talk about?
Well, I think you do a great job interviewing. Yeah, I think, your audience should be really pleased with the level of interest that you take in making your guests feel comfortable and the questions that you ask. So bravo to you. That's what I would say.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Gang, if you needed to outsource your sales process, your lead generation and cold calling, because let's be frank, you might be scared of it, reach out to Nancy, have a conversation. They will do it for you. You could sit back And based on what she said, you got to know how to close, or
Yeah.
you got to have people that know how to close. Anyway, go out there. She will put you in the right direction. And if you're a right fit, you guys can work together and, get more leads, generate more leads, grow your business, grow your profits. Because I've been in the marketing world for the past, 15 years or so. Been in business for 20 years. Lead generation is the number one problem for 99% of businesses out there.
Yep.
And if that is you, put a comment wherever you're watching and say lead gen. And then if that actually is an issue for you. If you have any questions for me or Nancy, put them in the comments on social, and we'll get back to you. And again, if you know a friend, a colleague, a business owner, an entrepreneur who could benefit from the conversation, learning about Nancy's wisdom and the type of work that she does with her team, tag them or send the link of the show to them. Make sure to like and subscribe. And thank you for joining us. And we will see you next week.
Thank
Have a great week.
you.
Thank you, Nancy. See you guys later. Bye-bye.